Hi, I'm brand new. And First, Jim, I really want to thank you for all the work that you've done and the information that you've put out there for people who are going through this because this is all brand new to me.
Mm,
Um, about 2.5 months ago, I had a random panic attack after having the stomach flu, and thought something was direly wrong with me, and pretty much had the story that a lot of people do, which is running around to doctors and trying to figure out what was wrong because it just kept happening against my will.
mm.
Um, so I do want to thank you for all the information because since finding your website, I have not had a panic attack since. I'm sleeping. I've had a lot of progress. But in terms
Oh,
of my
great.
questions, I have a question about stress factors, and kind of the paradox of we want to reduce our stress, but we obviously don't want to become agoraphobic, right? There's
Right.
there's a kind of a fine line between living your life and not living your life is not good either. So a
Yep.
little bit of background about myself. And sorry if I sound out of breath. That's like one of my symptoms. I
Okay.
have shortness of breath, um, especially like when I'm nervous. um, but a little bit about myself. I'm only 35 years old. I have two small children. I had very close together. So I have a 3-year old and a 2-year old. I have a full-time job. So I have a lot of just innate stress, right? There's just going to be stress no matter what because I have two kids that need me. They're going to throw tantrums. They're going to get upset about things. I have a full-time job. Um, I have financial stress. I have all these things that are going on, right? So I can't necessarily cut things out of my life to reduce stress. And when this first happened, that's what it felt like. It felt like my body was telling me, I've had enough. You need to, leave your husband, leave your kids, run away, right? Like I had a very like strong urge to run away from my life to get better. Sorry. So I just wanted to know, how do you find balance to get better when every day you're just dealing with regular life, but your body can't handle it anymore?
Yeah. Well, soapbox time for me. I mean, this is having two children that close together is a full-time job all by itself. To try to fit in another full-time job on top, is going to be really tough. And, especially in today's society, we think that we should be able to push and succeed and do all these things. But, the body wasn't designed to do that. It has a limit. And so we want to stay within the limits to stay healthy. I think one of the reasons so many people are on antidepressants these days is because they are trying to go beyond what the body can actually do. So in your case, I'm not sure what your options are. So because you have time demands of children and the job, and of course running a household and everything else, uh, the only thing we can do is to try to find moments in those days for relaxation. Sometimes bringing other people in to help can be helpful. It's not when you do that, that's not a mark against your character. It's recognizing, okay, my stress load is through the roof here. I need to find ways of balancing that out. Uh, I don't know, how much your husband participates in the household activities, but maybe he can do more so you can get a rest. The challenge is trying to recover in that environment is going to be tough because, yeah, as you said, always on the go. Where do you give the body time to gear down? And so that becomes your challenge is, all right, so how can I put more time for me to rest than what I'm doing? In other cases, some people have moved to part-time jobs, depending what the financial considerations are. And some people, bring in a part-time nanny. Some people are bringing in a part-time housekeeper if they can afford it. Looking at ways you can manage this so that your stress burden isn't so high is a great way to do this. Again, it's not a mark against character. It's recognizing, okay, my body's not managing this well. I need to do something about it. I don't know if any of those options are available to you. Working with, I don't know if you work with one of our therapists, but often they have a lot of ideas that can help with mothers who are going through this and fathers too, who are working full time and also being a part time mom and so on and so forth. So just recognize that, our bodies weren't designed to go this hard and it's letting you know. Some people can do it. Some people can't. Depends on our sensitivities. Certainly, working on underlying factors can be helpful, right? So that we're not taking on a lot of emotional burden that we don't need, so that we can give ourselves breaks when we need to without feeling guilty. But essentially, it's trying to find ways to clear your schedule even a little bit each day can make a big difference. I don't know if any of those are options for you at all. What are your thoughts on that?
Um, I think that's the difficulty is that it does feel like a lot of those things are not options. To give a little bit of background of like how I ended up hyperstimulated, um, I do feel that it's because of a lot of underlying factors of just stress, right? You know, I had my children and my stress level went up. I had two kids very close together. During COVID pandemic, lots of stress there, lots of stress with a 10-year career that I've been building and putting a lot of effort into at the same company. And just I your story really resonated with me because mine started the exact same. It was just digestive issues. And I was going to the doctors, not knowing like, hey, like why am I having all these digestive issues? And I actually started crying more easily every day, just like you. Your
Hmm.
story is exactly the same as mine. And I kept going to family, going like, I don't know why I feel like this. Like I just feel like my life's falling apart, but it's not. But my mind is telling me that like I'm in danger when I'm not in danger. And so then I
Yeah,
started looking for like root causes, like, is it my job? Is it where we live? And I started focusing on all these problems, trying to figure out what was like wrong and why I was feeling that way. And then I just had three really major stressors back to back. One was pretty traumatic. And then I got some really bad news. And then I got the stomach flu alone with my kids. I had no help. And that just kind of like triggered it all. So kind of like a roundabout way of saying, like, I know that these things are like issues in my life. I feel like they are underlying factors of like trying to figure out like what is the next, 3 or 5 years going to look like? Am I going to change jobs? Are we going to, change our lifestyle to help me get better? But I think
yeah,
the difficulty is looking in the mirror and feeling guilty, like you said, um, that it's like, oh, I couldn't keep it together. So now my family um, is kind of punished for it.
yeah.
So I am working with Larry as well, um, talking through these things, but um, I think that'll probably be something I'll have to bring up in conversation with him is just try to better understand like balancing the stress
Yep.
to help me get better. Because I used to be able to handle all these things. And I think that's like where
Mm.
my confusion lies is like, you know, like where was the balance, right? You say to get a part-time housekeeper, but is it really so stressful to have to do dishes and laundry? And I'm just trying to figure that out of like what is a stressor and what isn't a stressor. Um, as well. So I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's not very,
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm being clear.
Yeah. 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 No, you mean very well. Yeah. Again, it's important to not feel guilty for having your body ramp up so much that now you're struggling. Like I said, you used to do it, and I used to do it too, until your body says, okay, that's enough. I can't take anymore. And then if we don't pay attention to those signals, well, we keep on pushing, thinking we should. And next thing you know, we're in anxiety disorder and hyperstimulation, long-term recovery, and so on and so forth. So this is where it's so important for all of us to recognize our limits. And if the body's stressed, it's going to let us know. And symptoms are a good way to do that. Things Another way is our emotions are dark and all those kind of things. So those are all indications that the body needs a break. And so the best thing we can do is rather than trying to look at all the other changes we can make, should I move? Should I not? Should I leave my family? All those things we think make sense because we're struggling. But if we were just to build in more relaxation time and give the body the rest it needs, we likely come back and realize life is still pretty good once the pressure's off. And so not making any major decisions until you're stressed out is a good way to approach it. Certainly going after underlying factors is helpful, but I think right now your main focus would be really working at ways of building relaxation moments into your day. Again, soapbox time for me is years ago when I was growing up, mothers stayed home. and mothers got together during the day, and one mother was stressed, another one would, take the kids. So there was lots of opportunity to balance the stress within the neighborhood. That doesn't exist for a lot of people these days. So we feel like we're on our own and we're still trying to manage, but you see the body is not managing. So looking for ways to build in reduction, uh, and containing our negativity about what's going on is also important. Realize, okay, I'm negative because my body's stressed and I'm symptomatic because my body's stressed. My focus is just getting my stress down. Looking at my schedule, which ways can I do that? And like you say, bringing in someone to do the household chores isn't a bad thing. If Especially if you've had a busy day at work and you come home, you have the two kids to look after and make supper. Well, who has the energy to continue? You say you're 35, but still we have lots of energy then, but that's a lot of, burden to carry even at that age. So find ways to do that and don't feel guilty. Talk to your husband about ways that he might be able to spell you off. Do you have friends that
Mhm.
can come over and give you a break? Anything you can do to relieve that pressure is going to be helpful. For example, like on a weekend, if you have, in-laws to come over and look after the kids, well, you take a break for the morning. Any kind of break you can get is going to benefit your body in time. But the other thing to remember, it's not going to be a fast solution. These, temporary uh, relieves are going to have to be employed for a while until the body can gear down. And I think once your body's geared down, you're going to feel way different about things.
That's actually really, really helpful to kind of see it more as like finding the time to relax, which I am doing. I've been doing the deep relaxation 2 to 3 times a day. I've been trying to fit in time to, I had to reteach myself to read. I don't
Hmm.
know if anybody's ever had to do that, but I was a very avid reader prior to hyperstimulation, and I had to reteach myself how to read this month because I couldn't sit still to read.
Yeah.
But now I can read, and I've been going to the pool because I do like to swim.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been trying to fit in quite a bit of relaxation time, which is probably why my symptoms have improved because I am sleeping, which for 2 months I did not sleep, which was
Right.
exacerbating the issue, of course.
Yeah.
I don't want to dominate the time. I just had one more question,
Hmm.
which was about homeostasis and kind of this concept of your body kind of learns to be stuck in this state. And if it is, in your experience, common to hear from others about kind of living Groundhog Day. Um, because one of the things that I struggled with the last month to accept that this was truly anxiety is that it's the same day over and over. So I wake up with a cortisol like response, which I've now realized is a very extreme hot flash. And it lasts the same amount of time every day. Not that I'm clocking it, but I kind of have a schedule every day. And so I kind of notice like, oh, around, noon, I start to feel a little bit better. And then I always have this big stress dump around 4 to 5 o'clock in the afternoon, no matter what I'm doing. Um, it really doesn't matter what I'm doing. Like it'll just happen kind of against my will. And then I always feel much, much better in the evening. Like I feel almost 100% myself in the evening.
Hmm.
Um, and at first it was making me dread going to sleep because I was like, oh, I don't want to go to sleep and reset myself because I didn't understand what was happening to me. So I actually was like thinking I had a medical problem that I would sleep and then wake up and it would all start over, right?
Right.
But is that something that truly is indicative of anxiety? Is this experience of like it's like almost the same hours every day. It's almost the same experience every day. And when you're recovering, I guess I guess my question is, one, is that common? And then two, as you're recovering, does that stop? Right? Does that stop where the body finally gets the idea of I don't have to do this the same way every day anymore?
Yeah. Well, based on the nods of everyone, it is common. I think everybody experiences that. And the good news is that does change as the cortisol cycle starts to change back to normal. You don't have those, spikes and things to have to deal with. The other thing too is towards the end of the day at 4 or 5 o'clock, if a person hasn't eaten something around 3 o'clock, well, your body's running low on sugar. So it can spike symptoms. So it's nice to have a little, snack about 3 o'clock or so before that happens. and depending on when you eat. So being sensitive to blood sugar and how it operates under high stress can be helpful there. But yeah, it all resolves. Our all our cycles return back to normal when we get the body's hyperstimulation eliminated and stabilized. So it's not something that's permanent. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for your time.
Oh, you're more than welcome. But it is super common.